we go. Okay, so today we're taking a look at Google Forms. This is one that I use very frequently. A lot of it is for surveys. Occasionally there's quizzes, but more often than not, even though we can do quizzes with Google Forms, a lot of times just better to do it with Canvas because everything goes right into your book. And if you do it with Forms, even though you can do it with Forms, it's an extra step for you to go in and grab all the data and all that stuff and put it into your gradebook. So it's totally up to you. If you like it, then you can definitely do it. But for now, I think we'll focus more on surveys. For any of you who have already used Google Forms, how have you used Google Forms in the past?
I use them for my introductory questionnaire.
Yeah, absolutely. So getting to know you surveys at the beginning of the semester, things like that, absolutely. Yeah, surveying students at the end of the semester, yeah, sorry.
I was going to say I used it for a diagnostic that was graded by completion, not by accuracy.
Yeah, it's like a pre-test or figuring out where students are. And Jenny says the same thing. She said using to, scheduling, actually the scheduling flexible lab hours or doing self-assessment after oral exam. So yeah, absolutely. These are all really good answers here. So a lot of different uses for forms. I think probably the thing that we do the most with forms is having those getting to know you surveys or mid-semester check-in or end of the semester kind of surveys to see how students were doing and see, you know, how things were going, what we can do. So with that, I guess, let's go ahead and jump into this. So just like everything else, to get to forms, what you would do is go to forms, forms.google.com. And that will take you to probably a login page if you're not already logged in. Otherwise, it should take you to your HCC page, which you should see something like this. Maybe not as many forms as I have, but make sure you see your HCC login here. Forms is actually a little bit more important that you're signed in with your HCC account because you have just a little bit more control over who can take your form. I mean, obviously you have the same kind of thing in docs and slides and sheets and everything, but with forms, you can make it so that only people with HCC emails can take your form, which again, you know, is the same issue as everything else. Sometimes students will not use their HCC account and then you have to kind of figure out how to tell them to sign in with their HCC account. But anyway, so you should see your Howard Community College logo up here if you're logged into the correct account. Okay. So again, that's just forms.google.com. And once you're here, you should see a template gallery. And if you look at those, I have heard some faculty have found that to be useful. Again, personally, I don't find these super helpful, but if there are certain things like there's an exit ticket here that might give you, you know, a head start on some of the stuff that you want, that could be useful. There's also a course evaluation template that you could use, a worksheet template. So there's different things here. There's a find a time one. So if any of these fit your needs, definitely feel free to open them up and take a look at them. In most cases, I mean, in all of these cases, you can edit them to be whatever you want. So even if it's not exactly the thing that you want, you can always edit it. But anyway, for most of what I do, I just start with a blank form. So I'll go ahead and click on the blank button up at the top, and that will open up a blank form for us. So you can go ahead and do that now, and we'll start with a brand new form. So just like everything else, you have your title here, but you also have the document title. So there are two titles here. The title up here is the title of the document itself. So that's what you'll see when you look in your Google Drive. But the title here is what your students would see. So In a lot of cases, what I would do is say, getting to know you survey, or mid-semester check-in, or final check-in, whatever you want to call it. And then up at the top, if you just click up there, it'll grab your title. And then this is the thing that you would see. Sometimes it's useful to put a section number up here. So if I had like, I don't know, let's say section 001 or section 002, then you could put the number of your course and your section in there so that okay, this was the survey for that section, this is the survey for this section. It really depends on how what you want it to. If you want all your data to go in the same place, then you don't need to do that. But if you want to separate it out by sections, it just depends how you want to use the data that you get. Okay. So once you have your data up here, and again, your students don't see this part, so they would only see the getting to know you survey. You can also add a description over here too. So a lot of times I just skip this, but you could say, please answer the following questions to help me get to know you, right? Help me get to know you. So whatever you want to put there, you can give more information. You can also put links in here if there's something that they should look at first. Like if you were doing, for example, like a syllabus quiz, you could put a link to your syllabus. I've done that before. So you can put links in here. Sometimes they don't look like links. So if I put like HTTPS, that doesn't look like a link, but it will turn into a link once the student takes the form. So even though it's just looks like text, Google Forms will recognize that as a link.
You have to type in the link, or can you copy?
Yeah, you can cut and paste. Yeah, you can cut and paste. It just won't like underline in blue for you. It's just gonna look like text. But yeah, you can absolutely cut and paste. Mm-hmm. Oh, Mary, I think you're muted. Mary, you are muted, I think. Can you repeat your question?
That's funny. I think also I froze, or somebody froze. None of those buttons over there to the right are link buttons then.
No, they're not. No, sorry. So there's no link, but you can put links in there. They just, like, if I wanted to link to this document, I would just like literally put it in there, and that would be it. So it doesn't like make it a link, but it'll when you look at your form, then it turns into a link. So it's just that before you're actually looking at the form, it doesn't look like a link, but you just trust that it will turn into the link. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, there's no icon or any kind of link for that. Yeah. Okay. All right, so that was creating a new form. Basically, once you have your title up here and your description, that's really all you need to do. So by default, if you click down here in the untitled question, by default, you'll see that the question type is a multiple choice question. If you click on this drop-down menu, you can select any of these question types. Definitely the ones that I use more often are multiple choice checkboxes and the paragraph answer. Occasionally I'll use the linear scale and the multiple choice grid and things like that, but most of the time we're using these up here. So
what's the difference between multiple choice and multiple choice grid?
Oh, that's a good question. So multiple choice is just one question. So let's put in a question now. So let's say, what's your favorite color? So we're just typing right in that field, and you can see that Google automatically changed the question type for me because it recognized, oh, what's your favorite color? That's probably something that you want them to write out, but actually no, Google, I want that to be a multiple choice question. So you just change it back to multiple choice. So in this case, I'll just add in my options. So blue, red, yellow, green, and that is simple multiple choice question. If I look at the form, that's what it is, right? And they can just click and then that'll be their answer. A multiple choice grid, if I add a new question, click the plus button over here on the side. And if we do multiple choice grid, it gives you different categories of rows and columns that you're going to choose. So the one that I've used this more often was for like finding a time. So for example, which of the following best fits with your schedule? And then so it would be like, let's do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then we could do morning, afternoon, evening, right? So now what that looks like is it automatically populates this. So now I have a grid of they're selecting one of these in each of the fields. So, you know, on Monday, what's the best time for you? Okay, Monday morning. And that's the same thing with the checkbox. The checkbox just allows them to pick all of the ones that fit their time. So if it was, okay, Monday I'm available Monday, the morning and the afternoon, and I can select both of those. But if it was only something where you want to just pick one of these column, pick only one in each place, then that's where you would use the multiple choice. Yeah, it's less frequent that you're probably going to be using those, but they can be very useful in some cases. Yeah. Yeah, so once they answer, the form will get all of the answers for each of the questions in a specific chart. So actually, if we preview this, I can show you that. We're skipping around a little bit, but that's okay. So if we go to just answer these questions, so I'm going to say these were the times that work for me, and this is my favorite color, and then I click submit. Then now on my form over here, you can see that now I have a response up at the top. I have one response, it's immediate. So as soon as they hit submit, it goes right into your form. So then you can click on responses and then you'll be able to see the different charts and things that you get. So you can see, okay, these were, just happened that blue was blue. It doesn't always happen that way, but whatever the first one is, it's usually blue. So you can get a pie chart for multiple choice questions. And then for your grid, it does get a little bit tricky. You have to like pay attention to what's the highest one, but you can see, okay, only one person answered, but these were the times. If I responded again, and then I said the same, let's do another one. So if I said my favorite color is gonna be yellow this time, and I am available only these times in the mornings. So now you should see automatically it's populated. It's doing really well with these colors, so it's interesting. And you can see that there's two here, right? So instead of just the one. So this is the higher probability that you can meet with more students at this time. So again, it's pretty good. You can also export this into a Google Sheet and then do more data analytics and visualization if you want to. But for simple things, usually the pie charts and the charts that they give you are usually good enough. Okay. All right. So we talked about changing question types and we just did adding questions. So again, just to add another question here, we can just click the plus button and we'll be able to add another question. So let's do a different question type. So now let's do a paragraph answer. So paragraph, there's another question that I get all the time is what's the difference between short answer and paragraph? So short answer, if I do a short answer question, I can say, what's your name, right? And you could make it whatever you want, but when the student answers, they're just gonna have one single line of text. It can go on forever, but it's one single line of text versus if I did a paragraph answer, and I'll show you what it looks like in just a second. If I do a paragraph answer, then what it looks like is they can have more, not really text formatting, but they can type more and they can hit enter. Because if I type in what's my name, my name is Mike. I can't press enter here to go down. I can keep typing and it just goes over. So if it's something where you want them to type a lot, then you probably don't want a short answer. But if it's just something where you want one simple word or something like, my name is Mike, okay, cool, short answer is fine. But if it's tell me about yourself and I want to write more, then I can actually hit return and I can get more space there. So really depends on what you want. Most of the time, if you want them to write even a little bit more than just a couple words, then you want paragraph answer. So just to give them a little bit more freedom in their spacing. Okay. All right, let me close this out. I know I didn't finish, but it's okay. So perfect. So that is that. Let's talk about requiring answers. So right now, if I took this form and I don't have any of my questions none of my questions are required. So I could technically just click submit right now without answering any of the questions. So that gave me a response, but my response was nothing. So it doesn't help. It doesn't mess up my data necessarily, but it also doesn't really help me because my student can submit without answering the questions that I want. So if you want them to answer all of the questions, if you click on the question, there's a required switch down at the bottom. And if you just check that, then that's going to make sure that they have to answer the question before they can submit. So now if I look at the form, you can see that I have a little red star there. It says red is required. If I don't answer that and I try to hit submit, it says, hey, this is a required question. You have to answer this or you won't be able to submit, right? So, so that's basically, that's all it is, just forcing them to submit or forcing them to answer before they submit. And it's good, especially if you have a longer form, because it's really easy sometimes to just miss a question. So even if they're not trying to miss your question, making it required can force them to have to answer, right? Okay, so that is basically that. And you would do that for each of the questions. So you have to keep clicking required. With the grid, you can require a response in each row. With this, you want to be careful because if it might not make sense, like for this particular one, you might not be available in each day. So requiring a response in each row doesn't make sense here because if I say require a response, then I say you must be available on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So that in this case, we want to leave that off. But for the name, we want to make sure that they put in their name, and we want to make sure that they answer the questions that we want them to answer. Okay, any questions so far?
You could add for that Monday morning, afternoon, evening, could you also have one that says not at all? Then they would have to do it for each one?
Yeah, so I'm not available on this day. And then if we click require, we'll click require here. Then yeah, that's a good solution to that. Then they would be forced to answer one way or the other on each of them. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So occasionally you might want to give more information on a question. So this question right now is just tell me about yourself. But if I wanted to write like a short description of what I really mean from that question or what else I want from that question, what I can do is click on the three dots down here at the bottom, and then I have an option to show a description. So if I click on that, now I can actually get another line here where I can write more stuff. So please tell me your hobbies, your major, what you like to do on weekends, and your favorite flavor, oh my God, favorite flavor of ice cream. Right, so that just gives them a little bit more information. And then when I go to the form, you can see now that it's just a little smaller. So it doesn't like throw them off, but it's just in case they need a little bit more information. If you want to give examples of what you mean from the question, then sometimes that's a good one. Oh, sorry, I missed your question, Anne. Can you only have a selected number of items in multiple choice? But you found it. What do you mean, Anne?
I was in the process of creating a question for multiple choice, and I had gone on to another question. I went back to that question that had the multiple choice, and I had a hard time adding another selection in that question, but I found out how to do it.
Yeah, that's a good,
kind of click the next question under it, and it'll kind of wrap around to allow you to add.
Yeah, so to add more answers, for example, if we want to add more colors here, you can either press enter on your keyboard and that'll give you another option. So if we wanted to do gray, I guess, or you can click add option. And then that would just give you another one, the same thing as hitting enter, and then we could do black. Or if you say, okay, I gave you some options, but I want you to write in your own answer for multiple choice, you can actually click add other. And then this other, you can't type in here, but what this is gonna do is give your student a space to write in their own answer. So if none of the colors that I like are here, let's say I like purple is my color, then I could click other and then type in my own answer, and then that would populate into my my pie chart. So that's also useful. This works for multiple choice as well as checkboxes as well. Okay, and then to add another question, if I think this might have been the other thing that you were saying, and if you wanted to add a question above a question or below a question, let's say, oh, actually I wanted to put my name at the top, you could either just drag it. So there's these 6 dots at the top of the question. If you just click on that, you can actually just drag it to move it up to where you want it to be. Because what's your name makes more sense at the top, right? But then you could also, if you wanted to add one in between questions, you would click on the one above where you want to add it, and then click the plus button, and it's going to add it between wherever you are. So it's always going to add below wherever you are in the form. Okay. Yeah. And you can always move them around if you just stick it at the bottom. You can always move it up or down. Okay. Okay, looks good. So let's go ahead now and add some images and a video. So what we can do here, let's do an image for what's best fits your schedule. So there's a couple ways you can add images. Actually, what you can do, you can add images to the question itself. So if we wanted to add a question here or add an image to this question, we can click on the image icon to the right of the question itself. And then we can search for an image. So we'll just say, let's do Google image search, and we'll just search for colors. And we can just click on the color or the image that we want, and then click insert down here. And it'll actually add that to your question, so that it shows the question, then it shows the image, and then it shows the options. This is good if you wanted to ask a question about like a diagram or something like an image, or what is this? And then show a picture or something like that. So that might be something good that you can do. You can resize this by clicking on it and then pulling the corners down. So this is pretty big, so I don't need it to be that big, especially because this is just decoration. But you can also delete it or change the alignment by clicking on the 3 dots here. And then you can change left align, center align, right align, or change or remove it. You can also add a caption here. So this would be color wheel, which again isn't like that big of a deal. But if you are working with students that have low vision or using screen readers, then putting a caption is good so that they know what the image is. And the other thing that you can do besides adding an image to the question itself, you can also add an image to the answer. So if, for example, I wanted to add color, like each of these could add their own color. So if I search for like blue here, then I could add it to the actual question or to the actual option itself. So if I just click blue, I'm just going to do a couple of these so you can see what it looks like. I'm gonna do red here. Oh, it's Elmo. Okay, so that's just an example. You can add for all of them that you want. When you're just, if you want to see what that would look like, they would actually be able to select, you know, the option based on the picture as well. So you could have, I didn't put the options here, but you could put the other options here. Okay. Yeah, so Christy asked about security features. Yeah, so this is pretty much locked down. I think the line from IT would be don't ask students to fill out their, you know, their personal address or their social security numbers. I think actually Google even says that, like, don't submit passwords to Google Forms. Don't put any sensitive data here. I don't know. I mean, Google says that they're FERPA compliant, so Google themselves is probably not going to do anything, but it's better to not have that data floating around, I would say. So if you need like very specific personal data from students, like home address, phone number, social security number, things like that, you probably don't want to collect it here. You want to do that in a you probably want to get IT to tell you how the best way to do that is. I think they might be able to create you a form or something like that if it's something more secure that's HCC housed in MyHCC or something like that. You probably don't want to collect it here. Not that I think that your data is going to get hacked or it's going to get lost, but just to be safe, I would say that I'm probably in agreement with IT in that you don't want to put sensitive data here. Where is the data housed is actually a really good question. There's two places that it's housed. One, it's housed in Forms itself. So if I go in my responses, my data just sits here in Forms. Where is this is a good question. This doesn't really live in your drive other than it's associated with your form. So I'm not 100% sure other than that, like this in and of itself doesn't give you a spreadsheet. What you can do though, is if you click up here at the top with this little green button for your responses, you can actually create a new spreadsheet with this data. And then if you click create here, you can also select an existing spreadsheet. So if you have like multiple forms that you want to feed into one spreadsheet, you can do that. But in this case, we'll just do a new spreadsheet here and you can give it a name if you want to just leave it as that. But if you click create here, then this will open it up in a new Google Sheet. And then now every time a student or someone submits to your form, it'll drop into this spreadsheet. So it'll automatically create a line item or a row here each time somebody submits something to you. So if you connect this, if you connect your form to a sheet, then your all of the data is going to go right into your sheet. Yeah, it's automatically. So if I, for example, if I take this again, just to show you what that looks like. If I take this form again, if my internet cooperates with me, there we go. My favorite color is blue again. And I guess I was in the process of writing a question there and I have to write, I'm not available on that day. Then we'll just do that, click submit. So now I have another response in my form. It should have 4 responses now. You can see my pie chart changes every time it gets updated. And this is what the text responses look like. So it just gives you a line of it. And then if I go back to my form, you can see it automatically populated. So once you connect it, it automatically feeds into the sheet. If it's not connected, it won't feed into it doesn't have a sheet to feed it into, so it doesn't do that. It just keeps it in Forms. But where does this data in particular live is a really good question that I don't know the answer to. I don't like, if you delete this data, there's no way to get this back at all. If you delete the data from your sheet, you can go back in your version history and you can do more. You have a little bit more protection in terms of getting your data back if something gets deleted. And actually, in fact, if I delete the data from the form now, so if I go in here and I say delete all responses, so this is on your responses tab. If you click the 3 dots here and click delete all responses, you sure you want to do it? You cannot get this, you cannot undo this, and your responses that are already sent to your spreadsheet will not be deleted. So if I click OK here, it's cleared. I have 0 responses in a second. Yeah, 0 responses, but on my spreadsheet, the responses are still there. So it doesn't delete them from your spreadsheet, but it will clear your form for you. So this is especially useful if you're going from semester to semester. You can clear all of the responses to get a fresh form, so you get fresh data here. But if you ever needed to go back to something at some point, you would keep it in your sheet here. So it's really, it is powerful in that way, and it does automatically feed it into the sheet once you connect it. So if it's not connected, it's not going to go into the sheet. But if it is connected, it's always going to feed right into the sheet. Okay. Okay. So far, so good. Any questions with that? That was a lot of data stuff with that. I know that can be a little confusing sometimes. No. All right, so we added images to the question itself as well as to the answers. If you also just want to add an image in between things, you can also add an image by clicking the add image button. That's going to give a separate little item here. So if I add an image here, then I'll just pick an image. Let's see if I can find my money dog. Yep, there we go. And there we go. So that adds an image in the middle of your question. So it's not directly related to a question itself, but this again could be useful if you wanted to add, for example, you wanted to have an image, look at this image and then answer the next 3 or 4 questions. So it could be useful in that case so that it's not tied to this particular question, but they would be able to refer back to it in that case. Then you can also give it a title, and basically just that's all it is for that, for adding an image here.
Can I ask a question? This is Ann.
Or
Okay, I need some guidance because I have a project that I'm working on with my students. It's a planning project, and I'm finding that I'm having to reply to individual students with similar content. And so, but I want to give all of the students my feedback to the one student because it would even the playing field for everyone as they're planning. So is there a way, I don't know if it's forms, but is there a way that I could do this easily without me having to reply to the student in Canvas and then take what I said in Canvas and put that in an announcement? I'd like to have a one document that is like something that I can add to on the regular that the students can also go to.
yeah, I think probably the best and the easiest thing to do is what you just said, is to put it in Canvas and just copy it from the inbox and put it into in an announcement. That's normally what I would suggest. If it's something where they're going to be continuously going back to that, if it's like a larger project, I would say probably a Google Doc would maybe be an easier thing, and just having the students putting all of your feedback in here as a kind of FAQ. So you would put the question and then here's the feedback, or here's the answer to the question if you have a question. And then instead of answering it with that student, what you could do is just answer it in the Google Doc and then send them the link to the doc and say, hey, check the doc, I just updated it. Or send out a message to everyone and say, hey, I just updated the Google Doc with this question, check it out. And then the other thing, and I know this is a little bit off topic, but just to show you, because I did this earlier today with one of my part-time people. Every time I'm on Zoom, this thing just goes incredibly slow. So if we go into the document, what you can do is make a comment on the question itself. So if I wanted to make a comment here, let's make a comment. I would like to make a comment. There we go, make a comment. I have to load everything, okay. Okay, so what you could do is add that particular student's name with the @ sign. So you could send it, and that would send them an email, again, assuming that they check their email. But that would send them an email as well as make a comment on the document. So you could say, hey, thanks for asking this question, here's the answer. And then that would send them an email that says, hey, somebody just responded to you, and then they'll get an email, and they can click on that to open the document right away. So yeah, I still think probably the announcement is the best practice, but if you wanted something that's more persistent and it's not just here's 10 different announcements, I agree that might be a little much. Then I would create just a Google Doc as like an FAQ document. Yeah.
This was perfect. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. All right, so we did images, we didn't do video yet. So just like you can do images, you can also do video. You can't do video inside of a question, as far as I know. Let me double check and make sure that that's true. Yeah, there's no video button here. So What you can do though, is if you want to add a video, just like we added this image above the question, you can add a video above the question and then ask questions about that video. So if we just click the add video button right here, it's right under the image button, click on add video. And then we can just search YouTube. I am just gonna search dog. I'm always hesitant to search Money Dog on YouTube for some reason. Here's baby dogs, that'll work. And just select the image or select the video that you want. Of course, I do recommend that you go to YouTube first, find the video that you want, and then just copy the URL over here. You can either put it here or you can search for the URL over here. Either one is fine. But if you have the URL, it's better because you can't preview the video prior to inserting in the form. But either way is fine. Once you do that, it'll just drop it right in. And you should be able to, again, expand it if you want to. If you want to make it a little bit bigger, you can make it bigger or smaller. You can also change it. Same thing as the images by clicking on those three dots, left align, center align, right align, or change or remove. And then, of course, you can watch this video to learn about baby dogs. I get it. It's not puppies. This is literally dogs that are treated like babies. Got it. Okay, so there we go. So that was adding video. So again, the best practice here is just put the video there and say answer, watch this video about baby dogs and then answer the next 4 questions below, right? So something like that, and then they can answer the questions after watching the video or while they're watching the video, because as long as they're playing the video, they can play it and pause it without any trouble. Okay. Questions about images or video? Good. Okay. All right. So I think we're doing good here. Let's take a look. I'm going to come back to sections and branching because we're a little bit shorter today because of the announcement. And I want to make sure that I show you how to put this into Canvas because that's maybe a little bit more common than using the branching, but if we have time at the end or you can stick around, I'll show you that at the end. So let's jump down, let's change the theme. So sometimes purple is fine and all you need is the form, and once this is completely fine, the form will work 100%. You don't need to change the theme, but if you want to change the theme, if you want it to look a little bit different, you can click on the customize theme button up at the top next to your eyeball. And click on that, and then you can either choose a different color. So if you prefer blue or green or any other color, you can also choose your own color here if you want to. So if you want to choose this particular blue color, then you can choose that. You can also choose a header image, which will pick a color for you based on the image. So if we click choose header image, you can always upload your own image, but a lot of times what we do instead of that is just pick one of the images over here. So I don't know that they have dogs here, but they have several different little cartoonish images. I like this little rocket ship. I've used that several times. I really like this giraffe with the ice cream. I think that's a nice one. So if you click insert here, what that's going to do is drop it right into your form, and you can see it picked based on, I guess, the cherry. But if you wanted to change it, to brown or, any of the other colors that are in there, you can also change it. And really that just changes this top color here, as well as you can change the background to, gray or whatever. The background color, you don't have that many options. You just have the 4, but you can choose whatever theme color that you like there. Okay, so so that's adding themes. Like I said, you can play around with that. You can add as many as you want, but basically that's it. And you don't need to have a theme to make this work. So so that was themes. Let's take a look at the settings, and then we'll go ahead and look at sharing and sending this to your students. So if we go into the settings here, you will notice that the first thing that's checked, and this is always checked if you're using your HCC account, is restrict to users in Howard Community College. And again, that's maybe some of the question about FERPA and the LOA. It's supposed to be secure. Google's not going to sell this data or do anything with your data because it's locked down, and they're committed to upholding FERPA and COPA and all of the other privacy laws, HIPAA. I don't know if they're I don't know if they're HIPAA compliant. I'm not sure about that one, but they are COPA and FERPA compliant. But again, just probably don't put student's address. Email address is fine, and name is fine. Just stuff that you don't, is PII. You don't probably want them to send that around. So if you are doing something simple where there's not a whole bunch of, you're not doing high stakes, or if you want it to be anonymous, because if it's restricted to Howard Community College, that means they're going to have to sign in to be able to take the form. And if they're signed in, then you will be able to see who said what. So if you want it to be anonymous, you have to uncheck this box. Unchecking this box will also save you a little bit of time with students that are logged in with a personal account. So again, it's really just depends on you. What you can do instead, if you want to know who your students are, is put the "what's your name" question there, or you can say collect email addresses, but just have them type in their own email address. So if I check this box and click save here, it's going to add a box for me for email address, and they'll have to, this is required, and they have to put in their email address, or they can't submit the form. I will just let you know that they can get away with putting a fake email address that's not their own, or just doing what I do sometimes is a.aa.aa or something like that. That is technically a valid email address, even though it's nonsense. So that, so you have to trust them in that case. So we'll go back to the settings here. You can also limit them to one response, but that requires them to sign in. So again, if you're doing something anonymous, uncheck all of these boxes here. You don't want them to be able to do that. And you do have an option if you want them to be able to see the charts at the end, if you want them to see what other students said, which is sometimes nice. Again, maybe not if it's like a graded assignment, you don't want them to see what it is, but if it's something where it's just like, how many brothers and sisters do you have? Or how many, what's your major? I think that's fine to show them the charts. But anyway, so that's pretty much it for the general settings. If you go into the presentation here, you just have a couple options. You can show a link to submit another response. It doesn't hurt. It's probably, I will have a hard enough time getting them to do it once that them doing it multiple times is probably not going to be an issue. So I usually leave that checked, but you can turn it off if you don't want them to do it more than once. And then your confirmation message is what they see at the end after they submit. So I do like to change this. I just say like, thanks for submitting the survey or something like that. Thank you for your time. This will help me do this or whatever you want to say. Once you do that, you do have to click save. This is the only place in Forms where you have to click save. Everything else saves automatically. So you do have to save your settings here. If you go ahead and click save, then that will save your settings, and then we're ready to send our form over to a student. So we did that, and now we're gonna send the form. So there's a couple of different ways to send the form. The easiest thing to do is, click send button first of all. It's the big purple button up at the top right. The easiest thing to do is just get a link to your form. You can add in their email addresses if you want to, but it's most of the time that's more prohibitive. It's more annoying to do that than to just send them a link. So what I usually do is just click the link button right here, and you get this longer URL. I don't know why they just don't shorten it. They should probably just shorten the URL in the first place, but you can click shorten the URL to make it a little bit shorter. It's not great. It's not like you're going to be able to memorize your numbers and letters there, but it's better than this. So if you want to just make it a little shorter, you can click that. And then click copy, and then you can send that to whoever you want. I'll put that in the chat just so you can see what that looks like, but you don't have to take this if you don't want to, but you will be able to see my form. If you click on that, you'll open it up in a new tab, and you will be able to see what that looks like. Oh, bless you. Yeah. All right, so that's probably the easiest thing to do. You can just send that to your students through an announcement or putting it in an assignment or however you want to do. That is the easiest way to do it. The other thing that we can do is actually embed the form in Canvas, which is actually something that I do usually recommend because they don't actually have to leave Canvas to take your form. So if it's like a getting to know you survey, you can put that right in the announcement itself. Instead of putting the link, you can put the form itself into the announcement. So if you click on these little carrots over here, this is the embed symbol here, and click copy, it's going to give you this long embed code, and you don't have to worry about that. You just need to copy it. And then if you go into Canvas, let me open up Canvas here. And I'll go into one of my courses here. And then if I wanted to put this in an announcement, you could put this in an announcement, an assignment, a page, whatever you want to put it in, it's fine. All of them will work, even a discussion. But normally announcements are probably the one that I suggest the most. So if we click a new announcement here, all we're going to do is give it a title here. So getting to know you survey. And I've already done this before. And just type in like, please take the form below. And then if we go over here at the bottom right, there's this little caret with a slash in it. This is the HTML editor. If you click on that, you can actually just click right in here and just paste in that, I guess it didn't copy. Just paste in your, where, oh my God, there's so many of these. Copy this, try again. And paste that in here. It does not want to paste for me for some reason. Let's try this again. Interesting. Okay, we'll try the raw editor. Yeah, I no idea why they do this to me. Anyway, so let's do that again. So if you go into the HTML editor here, then you click the raw editor, because for whatever reason, this doesn't like me to paste. It might work for you, but for me, that's not working. So if you click the raw HTML editor, then it turns it to blank. That pretty HTML editor has not been helping me. And then if you get that, then you can click back on the rich text editor, which is that same button again. And you can see now the form is right in the or in the announcement. So let me delay this so it doesn't go out to my students. And if I click save here, then now you can see what my announcement looks like. So it says, please take the form below, and they can actually just click right here and take the form. And when they go all the way to the bottom and click submit, it'll go right into my form. So they don't have to leave Canvas. They can stay right here in Canvas to do the form. And Robin asked about the embed tool, the cloud embed on the toolbar. It's a good question. I haven't tried that. I'm not sure that forms is an option in there, but we can take a look at that. So is that's the plugin, or is that a different, this one?
The cloud that's right there under the 3 dots.
Yeah, I gotcha. Let's see. That does look like it will work.
Okay,
Huh.
cool.
There you go. So that's how normal people have been doing this. I have not, I have been doing it the hard way. Thank you. I just learned something. Yeah, so there you go. Is the cloud embed. Yeah, thank you. That's actually a lot easier than doing what I was doing. Yes, so if you just go to whatever the bottom of your announcement is and click the 3 dots, the cloud, that's actually a lot easier. Click submit, there you go. Then now it's in there. So same thing, but that is a lot easier, I agree. So once you do that, you can click save, and then you will have your form ready to go, and your students can take it. And as soon as they take it, you can go back to your forms again on Google Drive, and you'll be able to see in the responses who took it. So you won't be able to see it on Canvas on your announcement, but you will be able to see it over here in your form itself. Okay. And we also did view responses. Any questions with anything that we did so far? That was Canvas, sending forms, embedding forms, any of that? No, feeling good. Okay, then I guess probably the last thing, because we're right at 1 o'clock and I'll stop a little early. I do have videos on branching and sections, so I'll send you those. You can take a look at that. But we will go ahead and just do how to add a collaborator. So the last thing here is adding a collaborator. So if you are working with a colleague or you want to share with someone, then you can go ahead and just say add collaborators. Oh yeah, Amy, you have something.
Christy had a question in the chat about announcements in Canvas.
Oh, sorry, I missed that. Thank you. Can you paste an announcement that you have formatted in Word? Oh, I see. You can try. It will pick up maybe half of it. I don't know. I don't know how well. It definitely doesn't pick up all of the formatting from a Google Doc, but it does pick up some of the formatting from a Word document or from a Google Doc. So it would, yeah, sometimes. I would say about half. You have a 50% chance. I would give you for keeping your formatting. Tables are probably not going to be great though. So if you want to add an editor, so someone else to be able to edit or to make changes to your form, or even just to see the responses, if you trust them not to mess up your data, you can add an editor to your form. And that was going to the three dots. Sorry, let me do that again. If you go up here to the three dots menu and you click on add collaborator, then from here, you can just add in their name, or you can give them a link, but make sure that if you're giving them a link, remember this link is not the send link, this link is the edit link. So there's no way to, I mean, you can turn it back to restricted, but if you copy this link, there's no viewer here, it's only editor, right? So, so they'll be able to edit your form if you do that. So you could either just add them by adding their email here. So if I wanted to add Hannah to my form here, then I would click send. And then she would now be able to edit and to look at my responses, to add questions, to change things if I needed her to. But most of the time you probably don't want to do that. If you just want people to see your responses, you can also just go to your responses tab, and then we can do the print button up here. Yeah, sorry, if you have to leave, feel free to bow out. I'll just finish this last one and then we'll stop here. So if we say print all responses, it's a little bit misleading because it doesn't print your responses. It opens your responses in a new window that you can, oh, it does, never mind, I'm sorry, this is not the thing that I thought it was. Well, this would also work then. If you print it, you can save it as a PDF. And then you would be able to see, this is the form though. Oh, I see. This is just the one response. This is going response by response, which I would never recommend that you spend that much paper doing this. That's not a great way. So where is that? I know there's a link here. It's this print button. Yeah. This print button is the button up here, not under responses, but under that's very bad UI design. But anyway, so if you click on the three dots over here and you click print, what that does is it gives you this page over here, which now you can say publish analytics. And if you publish this, that means that you can send, it's probably gonna ask me if I wanna publish it. That means you can send this link to other people and they should be able to see the answers here. I'm not sure why that did that. I believe, tell me if you can open this, I'm not sure. I tried to publish, but I'm not sure. Oh yeah, to click OK there. So it just asked me, are you sure you want to publish that? So now if I click on that, that should,
I can see it.
Yeah, good. Perfect. So if you want to just share the responses, you would go up here to the three dots and click print. And then that's going to give them this link, and then you can get the publish analytics. You just copy this link up here that says view analytics. Okay. So that is, I think, where we're going to probably leave it for today. We got a little bit behind because of the announcement, but that's okay. And I will send the tutorial videos out in the follow-up email. So if you are interested in branching sections, creating kind of more complex or choose your own adventure type stories, we have some videos on how to do those type of things as well, okay? So
Can I ask one question?
yeah, sure.
So branching is like a create your own adventure type thing? So you can go in a different direction at the end of every question or something?
Exactly. Yeah. So branching is just thank you for asking that, because that's not necessarily a common term. Basically what you can do is, if you have only multiple choice questions work like this, but let's say if you said blue, then I want to ask you something else about the color blue. Or if you said red, I want to ask you something else about the color red, but not blue. I'll only want to ask if you say red. So you could basically, yeah, you could have them skip different things, or you could have them see extra information. And
Wow.
one useful thing that's a faculty member has told me that they had been doing is setting it up so that if a student says, for example, how often or how frequently or which of the following things did you do to study for the midterm? And if they say something like, oh, I just reread the book. Okay, well, let me send you to this section that's going to give you more information about why that's not a good idea. And here's some other tips and strategies that you could use. So it's giving them extra information or having them skip over information. So it's kind of that, like if yes, then this, but you can kind of automate some of that. Yeah, so you can do that. You can do that with Google Forms. So I'll send that in a video. Yeah. Oh, and we have, Amy reminded me that we have a digital escape room session on April 12th. That's going to demo some of this as well. So if
What
you're
does that
interested.
mean?
Yeah. So are you familiar with a normal escape room where you go in the room and then you have to solve like puzzles? So we're using at least Google Forms. I think, Amy, there's a couple other technologies that are in there. Yeah, but Google Forms specifically because we can say, we can do things like response validation where they have to enter in like a keyword before they can go on to the next thing.
Oh,
So it's
cool.
kind of creating a little game for them to be able to see certain parts or not be able to move forward until they get the right answer.
So it's
Yeah.
5:30 to 6:30 on the 12th. And it
Oh,
is
very cool. Thank you.
definitely intended to be fun, but to Mike's point, I'll explain how I use the tools that you all have available if you wanted to create something like this for instruction. Because we've created some of these for instruction in some of the divisions.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Yeah, thank you for reminding me. All right. So, well, thank you all for sticking around even for a couple extra minutes. And I'm going to stop the recording here. And